Shalom to everyone. I'm Rabbi Howard Wolk, Community Chaplain with Jewish Family Service of Dallas, and I'm happy to work with Faith Presbyterian Hospice. And they've asked me to share some ideas with you. I hope this finds you and your families well. Uh, in the synagogue, we're reading from the third book of the Torah, the third book of the five books of Moses, the book of Leviticus. And actually, this coming Sabbath morning, we're reading from the very middle chapter of all the chapters in the five books of Moses, chapter 19. And the rabbis find various parallels between this chapter 19 and the Ten Commandments. And many of the major rules, statements of faith, axiomatic beliefs are part and parcel of this chapter. One of the verses, what I'll share with you, says the following: you should not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. I am the Lord. You should not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, meaning if the blood, the life of your neighbor is endangered, you cannot stand idly by. You have to spring into action. And the rabbis in the Talmud, the books of Jewish law, give three applications to this directive. One, if a person is drowning in a river. Second, where a person is being attacked by a wild animal. And the third, a person is being attacked by an armed robber. In all three cases, you cannot remain idle. You have to attempt to save the person. Why do the rabbis give three examples? Because in each case, the threat comes from a different domain. In the first case, the river, the threat is from nature, then from an animal, third from a fellow human being. And so if someone is drowning, you have to jump in and save him. So the rabbis discuss, what if you don't know how to swim, or it's rapids of a river and you're not an expert swimmer? So then there's no point for you to jump in, because then the result will be that two people will drown. But that does not leave you off the hook ethically. You have to throw the guy a rope, call a lifeguard, call 911. It cannot be that someone's life is threatened and you don't spring into some kind of action to attempt to save him. The same thing with the dog, with the wild animal rather. And the third case, someone's being attacked by an armed robber. And there the rabbis say, well, if you intervene, there are different possibilities as to what could occur. Could be the robber will run away in fear. Could be you will overpower the robber. And it could be also that you'll be killed. So the rabbis say, in this case, you're not obligated to put your life at risk, but you're permitted to. You're allowed to put your life at risk, to assume a risk, because if not, the person for sure is going to die. Now, this directive is the Bible's way of outlining for us what our sense of responsibility has to be to other people. It doesn't matter whether you know the fellow that's drowning. It doesn't matter whether you know the person who's being attacked by an animal or the person being threatened at knife point. Your responsibility is to spring into action. If you physically don't believe you could overcome the mugger, you have to at least call 911. You have to do something. And this directive by the Torah has many applications. We actually apply it to cases of medical ethics, of organ donation. If a person is a match for a person who needs, for example, a kidney transplant, if the person is reticent, there are certainly risks involved, risks of the surgery, general anesthesia. I've worked with people on both sides of the equation. Very often they'll raise the question, well, if I donate a kidney now, what's going to happen to me in 7 years if I run into kidney problems? So we cannot force anyone, certainly, but we would try to use verbal persuasive powers to tell the person, yes, there are risks involved, but without that, the potential recipient will die. And so the organ recipient is compared to the fellow who's being mugged. If no one intervene, for sure he's going to die. And it really outlines for us the sense of camaraderie, the sense of fellowship that the Bible's trying to create between all human beings. Now, the way you violate this commandment is by being idle. You don't take action. You're walking along the beach, there's a guy drowning, you don't do anything. Well, no court in the land can find you culpable. A Jewish court could not find you responsible because your sin was a sin of omission. Now, I know that certain locales have the Good Samaritan Act, but it really doesn't have any legal teeth to it. But here's a critical difference between, let's say, American law, American ethics, and biblical ethics. In American ethics, if you're a nice person, you'll jump in the lake and try to save him. And if you do, they'll give you, a ticker tape parade, and the mayor will present you with an award, Citizen of the Year. In biblical ethics, no, you're mandated, you're required to jump in to save him. You don't know how to swim, then you got to call someone who does. You got to call 911. Cannot be that you do not take any action. But let's say you don't, and God forbid the person dies, the person drowns. No court can find you culpable, as I said, because your sin was a sin of omission. But the verse says you should not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. I am the Lord. What does that mean? I am the Lord. Rabbis explain. Eventually, you're going to come before the King of Kings, the heavenly judge, and he'll say to you, that day at the beach, when the man was drowning, why didn't you save him? And to a judge of flesh and blood, you can maybe hem and haw and talk your way out of it. But to the divine judge, you could not do such a thing. So this directive by the Bible is an attempt to bring society together, that it's not enough just not to do harm to others, but we cannot remain passive when our fellow human beings are in danger. That's the ethical code that God expects from all ethically acting people. And we hope and pray that these kinds of lessons will be inculcated in our citizens. Thank you very much for your attention. Shalom and all the best.